woman from Eastern Europe. Yeah? I said, we'd like to rent your house. Rent my house for what? I said, we want to start, truthfulness, right? Truthiness. We want to start an Indian Post-Release Center society. What? I said, we want to start a halfway house for Native Indian ex-convicts. It's rented! Not the brightest guy in the world. So I decide, that's it. I'm taking Richard for some refreshment. Because I know nothing. Understand, there's a long distance from the beginning of this story to where you're sitting today. So I take him to the Balmoral Hotel. The Balmoral Hotel is a dive on Hastings Street. Okay? We sit down and we order a beer each. Richard's sitting here, I'm sitting here. Within less than 5 minutes, a fist fight breaks out here. Richard automatically, like in a trance, gets up, starts walking in front of me. Because I'm stupid and I'm young, I grab his wrist. He looks at me like, what are you doing? I say, Richard, what are you doing? I'm going to get in that fight. I said, are you fucking crazy? You just got out of the joint. Are you insane? Do you want to go back to prison? What? He sits down. That's, as they say in the Bible, the end of the first day. Anyway, about 3 or 4 weeks later, Richard and I and 6 or 7 other guys who are on the street are sitting in an office. And once again, we're talking about how we have to get a house and start this program. And finally, in exasperation, because I'm not a patient man, I reach in my wallet and I put $50 from my wallet on the table. Richard looks at me, he puts $30 on the table. A guy named Tony Antoine puts $30 on the table. Sorry, $50 on the table. We now have $130. Nobody else moves. The other guys just look at this and I say, you're in, we're in, you're out. What? I say, you're put money in or you're out. Well, wait, I said, forget it. Either you put your money in or get lost. So Richard and Tony and I begin. I go up to a house to rent it and understand that your truthfulness, your place here that's based on honesty began with a lie. Because I say to the owner, can we turn that down just a touch? Whoever's running the mic, can we turn the mic just a little, thank you. So I say to the owner, oh, I'm a PhD student at UBC, and I want to rent the house, and I'll have a couple of graduate students maybe rent a few rooms. And that's how we rented 2974 West 5th Avenue in Vancouver. And that's how your story here began. So we began. We had no plan, we had no idea, we didn't know what we were doing. Within 2 weeks, all hell broke loose. We had no rules. We had a major knife fight at 2 in the morning. 2 weeks later, I won't go into all the details, but somebody tried to kill me, and they didn't, thank God, and here we all are. Soon other people moved in, other young men from prisons. I will tell you one story about that, and then we'll move on to the next house and what happened next. The story is this. We had a beautiful young boy named Reuben from Cape Mudge on Vancouver Island. He was 19 years old, and he was playing on the roof of the garage, and he jumped off or fell off or something, and he twisted his ankle. So I drove him to St. Paul's Hospital emergency ward, and I should have gone in with him, but I said, Reuben, just go in and tell them what happened, and they'll x-ray your foot and we'll see what happened. And then I went away to do something, which was a mistake. So I come back an hour later and he's hobbling up the street like this. And I said, "What, Reuben, what happened?" He had a piece of paper in his hand. He said, "They told me to go to the Indian clinic." I said, "Excuse me?" "They told me to go to the Indian clinic." I said, "Where's the Indian clinic?" "Well, it's in the immigration building." Do you understand the irony of what I just said? A First Nations person is being told that he can only get treatment in the immigration building. This is Canada, 1967. So I say, Reuben, just come with me. So we go back. And I go up to and he sits there, and we go up to the nurse's station. I say, excuse me, this young man was just here a moment ago, and she says, yes, he has to go to the Indian clinic. I said, that's fine, we have no problem with that. May I ask a question? She says, yes. I said, where is the Jewish clinic? Excuse me? And with each nationality that I came up with, I raised my voice. Where is the Scottish clinic? What? Where's the Ukrainian clinic? What? And so on. Within minutes, I had 3 doctors. They treated him. They x-rayed him. There was nothing wrong with him, and we went home. Okay? Sometimes you had to do things like that. Okay, so then we fooled around. We had no idea what we were doing. And one day, something amazing happened. We're sitting around on a rainy day, and we're watching television. And we see a movie called Daytop. Daytop was a residential treatment center, a therapeutic community like this in Staten Island, New York. And in this movie, we see how they treat people. And they have these encounter groups, and they yell at people, and people are crying, and people are revealing their secrets, and so on. I went, whoa, that's what we got to be doing. We should be doing that. So I went to somebody I knew. How many of you here have ever met Lou Molina? How many of you know Louis Molina? Some of you. Well, Louis Molina ran this program for a while. I went to Lou Molina and I said, Lou, I want to do therapy. How do I do that? And he recommended a clinical psychologist, and we started doing these sort of encounters. Meanwhile, we outgrew our house, but a few blocks away there was a group of native girls in a house. Ta-da! We moved in with them. So pretty soon, there were native boys and native girls and me, all living together with no rules. Draw your own conclusions. Whatever you imagine happened, believe me, and more. Then we tried to have a rule that nobody would drink in the house. And one day I came home, and I don't see these signs here in Behavioral Health Foundation, but in X-Kalay, we used to have signs on the wall that said, are you practicing TB? Or are you exhibiting TB? And in brackets, testing behavior. So all addicts, all alcoholics, all people who need to grow up, always exhibit testing behavior. They're always pushing the limits. They fight with their boss. They fight with the kitchen crew. They fight with their mom. They fight with the law. They're always testing the boundaries, as you know. I don't have to explain that to you, because you folks are all experts in human psychology, or you wouldn't be here. So we had this rule, no booze. I came in one night. Richard has killed a bottle of scotch all by himself. We had this big fight, and it was a disaster, and so we threw him out. I will tell you 2 things about Richard. A, I loved the guy. I really did. I loved the guy. He was crazy, but he was interesting, and he tried, and he cared. But I will also tell you he died in a knife fight. And that's life. Not everyone wins. He died, he went back up north, and he died in a knife fight a year later. So, at one point, everybody in the house told me something important. They said, you know what? Ownership is key. We have to own this project. We can't rent houses. So we disbanded for about 2 months, and that friend of mine, Jeff, the tall Boy Scout who got me started in all of this, he went to a bank, and they gave us for free $5,000, and we bought a house. And the house came with an option on the house next door. And somebody else gave us $3,000, and we had now 2 houses that we owned. Okay? And we started again. And pretty soon the house was full of people, mostly Aboriginal people. I'm now going to tell you a story about one person. His name was Sammy.